This lens for video is awesome. What's up guys, Dan Frullani here and welcome back to a new video. What do I talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about one lens with the Canon R6, which is a full-frame mirrorless camera. But what lens? Well, it's the 135mm f2, the EF version. This. Alright, but let's start from the beginning. The other day, I went to shoot a video for my Spanish channel.
¿Qué tal, chicos? Hoy vamos a un lugar donde vamos. I don't know yet. Todavía no lo sé.
Yeah, I also have a Spanish channel. I opened it recently to share my content also with Spanish-speaking people, since I'm currently living in Spain. And it's also a great opportunity for me to practice the language, making videos in Spanish. And by the way, if you understand the language, Spanish, check out my channel in Spanish. So, as I was saying, I went out to shoot a video for my Spanish channel and I went with my friend Paolo. Paolo Cosi, the one of the drones.
Hola.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Entonces,
¿Cómo vamos?
¿Dónde vamos?
Creo que al Monocide de Toledo, al castillo.
Awesome.
So, since the 135mm is a lens that I love for portraits, but also for video, and when I make a video here in my studio, I can't really show you that lens, especially for video, because it's very tight, 135mm. Like, I don't have enough space. And also, I wanted to show you this lens, what we can get in video with the bright sun. Like some pros and cons when we use the 135mm EF with the Canon R6 with a regular Canon adapter. So this is some of the footage I got with the aperture at f2.8. Not f2, even though I was using an ND filter like this. The sun was so bright. So I set the aperture at f2.8 and still I thought I was gonna get way too much light. However, after checking the footage from the LCD screen, I decided to give it a try and set the aperture at f2, the maximum aperture of this lens. And of course, when I put it in the software, like in Resolve, it looked so overexposed. I was using an ND filter and it's an ND 8 to 128. With the aperture at f2, it looked so overexposed and there was no way to reduce the amount of light entering the camera and the sensor, especially because when I shoot in C-Log, when we shoot in C-Log 3 actually, the ISO should be set at least 800. So that gives us even more light. So I would have just said, don't shoot with the maximum aperture unless you have a stronger filter. But then, to my surprise, I was able to recover everything. I mean, C-Log 3 can take full advantage of the dynamic range of the camera. So that's definitely a positive thing. That's a good thing about this lens when we use it, at least with the Canon R6. That this camera with C-Log 3 gives us a pretty good dynamic range. Also, the depth of field is just awesome. I mean, the shallow depth of field because of the aperture, f2. but it was good even at f2.8, and believe me, it would be good even at f4 because of the compression of the lens. It's a 135 millimeters and it compresses the image, the background so much, it makes the subject like stand out. I strongly believe that this lens for video is just awesome. And by the way, hit the like button and subscribe if you ain't already, and check the links in the description to see all my gear stuff and things, my gear. And check the link to Epidemic Sound if you want 1 month of awesome music and great sound effects. 1 month for free. Now, let's see some of the cons, where at least the most relevant negative thing is actually something I heard a lot, especially from photographers and YouTubers, but mainly photographers, that when we shoot against the light, when the subject has a strong source of light behind, we tend to get some flares. And even though sometimes the flares produced by a lens can look flattering, good. For what concerns the EF 135mm f2, that's not the case. The flare produced by this lens is like a huge bubble covering the subject, ruining the quality, the contrast, the saturation, a little bit of everything of the image. It's like this for photos. Even though we can try to make it look good to fix it in post for photos. And also for video, we get the bubble, just I think it's less visible. Especially if we shoot in 16:9, but it's there. And just like for photos, we can try to fix it in post. So let's say for video, this flare makes less of a damage, but that's something that we should definitely be aware of. So again, leave a comment down below and hit the like button. How can we fix or prevent at least the flaring? We can easily put the hood, the lens hood here, so that if we're careful enough, we won't get any flare when we shoot with the subject and the sun or a strong source of light behind. More often than not, actually almost all the time, for video, when we use this lens, if we want to take advantage of the full aperture, like f2, we have to use an ND filter. And what happens, especially if the size of the filter is not exactly like the lens, but even tiny little bit bigger, we won't be able to fit the lens hood. So we have to make things do, and when we shoot, we have to be really careful, because when we shoot the subject with a source of light behind them, we're gonna get some flaring. We just have to make sure that we limit the damages, trying to avoid the flaring somehow, or making sure that it doesn't ruin completely the subject or the image. And of course, then we have to do our best to produce some magic in post and make it look awesome. Anyway, I think that's all I had to say. Alright, and I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, smash the like button and subscribe if you ain't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh yeah.